It's about time.
This. Thanks for anyone who watched my first video on this build. I pushed it really far. This thing blasts T15s. I've cleared T3 Xesht. I haven't done T4 yet. Not because I think it can't. I just haven't done it, and I want to put this video up. So, if you don't want to just sit here and listen to me talk about the build, I'm going to have 2 Mobalytics links in the description. One for like the really basic minimal shit you need to get started with this build. And another one with like the highest possible end gear that I can think of for this build to make it completely insane, which is like goals. The really basic one is probably going to have a level 60 skill tree, and the really high-end one will be probably level 95 tree. I don't know if those will be done right when I upload this video, but I will be working on them until they're done, pretty much, if they're not there. So yeah, let's get into it. First things first, if you didn't watch the video, this is Hexblast Infernalist. This shit pops.
Feast on
Our whole build is around Demonform. What's Demonform? That's the wrong skill tree. Demonform is this Ascendency point on Infernalist. What does it do? It's a buff. It takes away our weapons, which seems pretty bad, but it's okay. We're gonna make Demonform go crazy. It gives us cast speed while we're in Demonform. We get plus to the level of all spell skills. We get increased damage per Demon Flame, which you can see stacking. We get 1 every second, and it makes us take damage. We lose 0.5% of life per second per Demon Flame. So something important to note is that this is a percentage of our life. So the lower our life is, the less damage this does to us. By lowering our life, we make it so that flat life regen is really strong at keeping us alive. In my current setup, I start crashing out around 200 Demon Flame stacks is when I'll start degenning, and I'll have to use health potions to keep myself in Demon Form, basically. The other Ascendency points are Altered Flesh, which is just pretty much damage reduction from cold, lightning, and physical damage, because they get converted to fire and chaos. And the Hellhound for damage reduction. Something to note is I did try playing with Pyramithnic Pact multiple times. I think in order to make this work, you probably need to go 90 fire res, which means you need a bunch of maximum fire res. The problem with this is that I kept igniting myself and taking like 3,000 plus energy shield damage every time I filled up my Infernal Flame, which was terrible. If you figure out how to make this work, it's going to go sicko mode, because you'll be able to get rid of all the mana regen on the tree, of which there's a lot, and you also could take Bringer of Flame so that Hexblast ignites stuff. And then you would just drop Altered Flesh, because the Hellhound is really, really good. So yeah, that's the Ascendancy, and our whole build is around Demon Flame. Items. So, how are we lowering our life? We're doing it with Ghost Ride, which by default lowers our maximum life. 50% of our life gets converted to energy shield, which does lower our life by 50%. You can get one of these extremely cheap, not corrupted, just the basic version of it. This is like the way you get into the build. We're also using 2 Ming's Hearts. These items are completely insane. Something about the build is that Demonform gives us so much increased spell damage that we don't really want more increased spell damage in places. We want things that multiply our spell damage. One of those things is gain damage as extra damage. So this is gain damage as extra chaos damage, which is insane because we're already doing chaos damage and trying to scale chaos damage. And then it's also reducing our life, which means we get more demon flame stacks, which is like another multiplier for us. When I initially was looking at this item, I thought the reduced global defenses would be a lot worse, but I don't know when it happens in the calculation, but it doesn't actually reduce your energy shield by that much. It's not going to show up because I'm in my hideout and it just doesn't update instantly when I'm in here. I don't know why, but yeah, it's not that bad. Something to note is make sure you can fix your resist still when you have these on. Having counter resist is really important, so do that. On the rest of our gear, we have rares in helmet, amulet, boots, belt, and gloves. Gloves is the only slot that can't get life regen in the suffixes, so you eventually want to get tri-res gloves, which is lightning, cold, and fire res. These are pretty expensive, but yeah, just work towards that. The other thing you want to make sure is you don't have life on any of your gear. Life is bad. We hate life. Life is less damage. What you do want is you want life regen. You want flat life regen. Can you stop barking? Sorry, my dog's an idiot. You want flat life regen on everything that you can get it on, which is everything but gloves. It's the only thing that can't roll it. The more flat life regen, the better, because we're scaling the flat regen later on with different stuff. Currently, I have 233 life, and I'm regenning 227 life per second, which is how I'm getting to such insane amounts. I'm at 160 stacks, and my HP still is not really moving. Other than that, you just want to resist, don't get life, get movement speed in your boots, get energy shield if you can. For amulet, there's 2 other stats you also want. You want spirit, so that you can get more auras. I'll talk about those later. This is almost max possible spirit. I'm 1 off. So yeah. The other stat you would want, which I don't have on this, is plus all spell skills, which is also an insanely good stat, because plus levels to skills just gives you a shit ton more damage, especially in this build. And then yeah, you just want life regen, and that's that. Also for charm, you want a poison charm. Poison's like the worst stat, like the worst ailment that you can get afflicted by, because it does double damage to energy shield. On your flasks, you want this line, gain number charges per second. It's like the best stat you can get on flasks. You want it on both of them. I should just buy a new flask. I didn't even realize that was 0.2. Okay, anyway. Moving on, passive tree. So, like I said before, we don't want damage on the tree. We want things that multiply our damage or make us tankier. The other thing we also want is area of effect, which we're getting over here, and also here, area of curses, because our whole build is around blasphemy, and hexblast. Blasphemy is a skill that basically turns a curse into an aura around you. I'm hitting all the wrong buttons. So curse we're using is despair, and it basically just applies the curse to everything around us. So we want to increase the area of that as far as we can, so that we don't have to be near stuff for curses to get applied, and we can just hex blast it when it's far away. And this area is the area that affects all the curses that get blown up. So anything in this big circle that is cursed, the curse explodes. And then also Hexblast, when it detonates a curse, it doesn't just hit that target, it creates a small AoE, and if we scale that AoE, they can shotgun. So if there's a bunch of enemies really close together, and they're all cursed, and we blow them all up, they'll all also hit each other. So they'll all take like multiple instances of damage instead of just one. So AoE is really good. The other things we're getting is Energy Shield. We just want to get really tanky because it's like our only defensive layer pretty much. We want Mana Regen because this skill eats mana like an insane amount. It's like the biggest problem with this build is getting fixing your mana. The higher level a skill is, the more mana it costs. So right now when I'm not in Demonform, it's 68 and 18 life. I'll talk about how it's life later. But when I go into Demonform, it gets 6 levels and it starts costing a lot more. So yeah, we would need a ton of mana regen to maintain us just spamming this. So that's that. The other things we want, cast speed, AoE, we want this node for stun threshold based on energy shield. The way stun works is basically the lower your life is, when you get hit by like a big hit, it'll stun you. So we want our stun to be based on our energy shield instead of our life. If you find that your energy shield isn't big enough with just this node, that you're still getting stunned, you can get other instances of stun threshold on the tree based on energy shield. If there's some here, energy shield, maximum energy shield as additional stun threshold. So if you're getting stunned a lot, you can get those nodes. That'll help a lot. We're getting this node here, which gives us energy shield and reduces our life. An amazing node for us. This is cast speed. We're getting Wither effect, which I'll talk about later, but Wither is a multiplier on our damage. I'll talk about how we're applying it later. Wither is a debuff on the enemy, where they take increased chaos damage, and it can stack up to 10 times. This node, basically, it almost gives you freeze immunity. Since I took this node, I've gotten frozen very rarely. It basically makes it so that the amount of damage you have to take before you get frozen is based on your energy shield. So that's really good. And then I took this node, which is unaffected by chill while dodge rolling, which we spam dodge roll a lot, but also just reduce effective chill on you because of maps with chilled ground just being kind of annoying. And it's right there. The other thing on our tree is, you might have noticed, we have a ton of jewels. We're using rubies. Rubies can roll increased life regeneration rate, which is a multiplier on all the flat life regen that we have. So that's how, even though I only have, I don't know, around like 100, I think I actually have less than 100 flat life regen on my gear. It's around there. That's how we're getting up to having 227 life per second. It's because we're stacking rubies. We're pathing it to 7 jewel sockets right now. At one point I had 8, but I didn't feel the 8th was worth it at the time. So yeah, that is how we're getting it. Rubies can roll a lot of really good other stats. You can get minions have increased max life for the dogs who can tank for you more. You can get area of effect. Another one of the stats you can get is skill mana cost converted to life costs, which is how we're converting some of the mana cost of Hexblast to life, which is fine because we're regenerating a ton of HP anyway. So that just takes care of the life cost. We don't even feel the life cost until we're at really high amounts of Demon Flame. So we're just abusing rubies, basically, to increase our life regen by a lot. One thing I will note, ignore this. This is fixing my fire res. I'm using 6 points for 20 fire res. I don't want to talk about it. Skills. So, Demonform, nothing's changed. We're using Second Wind, which gives us 2 charges of it. So, when Demonform ends, because we degen out of it, we have another charge, and we can instantly go back into it. You can cancel the animation. If you just press the button, you'll get self-stunned, basically, for like 1 second. But right after you press the button, if you hit spacebar, you'll dash out of the animation, and it will cancel it. This increases the cooldown from 20 seconds to 40 seconds, which is okay, because generally we're sitting in Demonform for really long periods of time anyway, more than 40 seconds. Ingenuity then lowers it from 40 seconds down to 30 seconds. It's 30.77 for me. I just realized I forgot to put a 6th gem in here when I hit level 90. I'm 91 now. So the Hellhound, something to note is, I should talk about this. you can get GCPs. I should do this on my Hellhound. If you hold Alt, you can see additional effects from quality. If you apply quality to a gem, you just hover over it. Why'd that not work? I have to put it on this part. Hello? Why can't I quality this? Game? Okay, I don't know why it's not working. I'm gonna be honest. Oh, this is only for gemling, because it's not actually a gem. Okay, never mind. Alright, what's something else I can use? Okay, there. I used one on my Grim Feast. It got +5 quality. This makes it recover 5 more energy shield. When you hold Alt, you can see effects from quality. So, one of the biggest things you can get, I'm going to talk about it real quick before Hellhound. Actually, no, I'll talk about it after. Okay, so for Hellhound, we're using Elemental Army just to give it more resist. Our Hellhound's just there to take damage for us, basically. So we want it alive as much as possible. Meat Shield, its damage doesn't matter. We just give it more life. Last Gasp, when it hits 0 HP, it just sticks around for 4 seconds and keeps taking some of the damage for us, even though it's at 0 life. And then Culling Strike, I have on here just because basically this will instantly kill bosses below 5%. And it happens pretty regularly that my dog will just cull a boss. At least like the really high tier bosses, like Xesht. Hexblast, our main damage, you'll see our damage constantly going up. We're at 125,000 with 140 stacks. So the quality on this is one of the easiest ways you can increase your damage. You just need to get 4 Gemcutter Prisons to go to 20%, and it gives you 20% more chaos damage. One of the easiest ways you can get an increase to damage in your build. Control Destruction is 30% more damage, but we can't crit. It's okay. Hexblast has a terrible base crit, which is what all your increased crit is based off of. So like if you had 100% increased crit chance, Hexblast would only go to 14%. So we're not really trying to build around crit in this build at all. At least not this version of it. So this is just 30% more damage. Arcane Surge gives us more cast speed and more mana regen. Basically how this works is you spam cast and you get this buff, which gives us mana regen and cast speed. It's more mana regen and more cast speed, which means it's multiplicative with our other cast speed and mana regen. So this is really good for fixing our mana. We're using Inspiration to lower the cost of Hexblast. So right now it's 144 mana and 39 life. If we take this out, it's 240 mana and 64 life. I'm putting that back in. Chaos Mastery is just +1 level of chaos skills. The higher level a gem is, the better +1 levels is. It's exponential basically, so the higher level a skill is, the better +1 is. And we're trying to get basically Hexblast as high level as possible. The problem is it also is exponentially more mana. So I think a level 30 Hexblast costs like 550 mana, which is a problem that you have to solve. And then Arcane Tempo is just more cast speed. Blasphemy is how we're applying curses. We're using Despair, which lowers the chaos resistance of everything around us. We want to increase this AoE, basically, so that it applies to stuff further away. It is, in fact, based on the curses AoE. So getting like these nodes right here for area effect of curses do in fact apply to Blasphemy. I also did test, hold on, if Despair applied, like if the curse resistance reduction applied when you blow up Hexblast. I went and tested this on a boss for a while. I spent like 30 minutes making sure it worked. So you do in fact get this damage reduction even though Hexblast removes the curse. So, and then Magnified Effect, which is more area of effect, so that Blasphemy applies to stuff further away. Contagion is a chaos dot. We don't care about the damage of this at all. We're just using it to enable other things. So the first thing is Chaotic Freeze. Basically, we put Contagion on something, and then when we Hexblast it, the Hexblast gets freeze buildup. When you're at really high amounts of Demon Flame, and you're doing like tons of damage, this will instantly freeze most things, except for like really high-end bosses, and those will still get frozen very quickly. in just like a few Hexblasts. It's so much freeze buildup. There's something to note though, once you freeze a boss, it becomes harder to freeze it the second time, but you will get more freezes as long as you keep doing this. We're adding Hinder, which is basically when you contagion something, it gets slowed, and then Encumbrance, so that it slows for more when it hinders something. Dark Effigy is a totem. How this works is it shoots one projectile at enemies near it for every chaos debuff on the enemy. So our first chaos debuff is contagion. So we put contagion on something, we put our totem down, and it shoots a projectile at the target. Then we have Envenom on it. I'm gonna move these real quick. So it will apply poison when it hits the target. Poison is a chaos debuff, so as soon as it poisons the target, it starts firing 2 projectiles every time it attacks, which it attacks once per second. It's actually a bit faster than that because I think this scales with cast speed. But the base cast time is 1 second. So it shoots 2 projectiles. What are we doing with those 2 projectiles? We're using it to apply Wither. This is how we're getting Wither. We talked about this earlier. This lowers the damage of the totem, but we don't care about the damage. We just want it to apply Wither stacks. So the default for Wither is 50% at 10 stacks, 50% increased chaos damage taken. But with these increased Wither effect nodes, it goes to 70% at 10 stacks. So that's how we're applying Wither on bosses. We pretty much only use this for bossing. If you're like leveling though, you'll probably be using this for rares. And then acceleration is just more projectile speed, so it's less likely to miss because there is a travel time. It doesn't just instantly happen. If you're leveling with this, this is the next aura you'll get after Blasphemy. So Blasphemy is the first one you'll get. It costs 60, unless you get GCPs, and then I think it's 54. But don't worry about that. So when you have 60 Spirit and you want to start playing this build, the thing you'll reserve is Blasphemy with Despair, because that enables the build to function. But once you get to Act 3 Cruel, and you kill the witch in the bog again, like you did in Act 3 for 30 Spirit, she gives you another 40 Spirit. And you get to get Grim Feast and Clarity. Clarity is the support that we put on it, which is 10 Spirit, and it gives us more mana regen, just all the time. And Grim Feast is a crazy broken aura for any energy shield build, which basically says, while I'm mapping or clearing anything that's not a boss, I have double energy shield. The way this works is, when you kill something, it has a 50% chance to put a crystal on the ground. If you pick up the crystal, you get energy shield. This energy shield can go past your maximum up to double your maximum. So if you have 2,000 energy shield, you can go up to 4,000 energy shield. This is basically double energy shield while you're clearing anything that's not a boss. It's completely broken. Now, because I have this insane amulet that's giving me over 60 more spirit, that's giving me 64, I think. And then I also have the reservation reduction on this from the quality. I get to get a bunch of more auras. So I'm using Cannibalism, which is percent of life recovered on kill. This makes it way easier to sustain really high amounts of Demon Flame when I'm killing tons of stuff in like really dense areas like breaches and stuff. And then Vitality, which is 20 spirit for increased life per second while supported skill is active. Now, if you have an amulet with just like 30 spirit, I actually wouldn't use either of these. I would use Arctic Armor. Arctic Armor is completely insane in this build. It's a spell, technically. So when something melees you, you deal cold spell damage to it. This spell damage scales with our Demon Flame. And because it's cold, it can freeze stuff. So the damage is based on the number of stages. So the more it gains stages every amount of seconds, the higher level it is, the faster it gets them. So when I go into Demon Form, it gets one every 0.6 seconds now and does more damage per stage. And currently has a maximum of 6 stages. So it's this number times the number of stages to the first thing that hits you. That thing will generally get frozen. We're using more freeze buildup. We're using increased freeze duration, so if it doesn't instantly die, which a lot of things, if they melee you, they will just explode and die, because this does so much damage. And we're using chilled ground, so even if something hits you and instantly dies, it's still considered frozen as it dies, because it took cold damage and like got frozen the second it died. So this still happens, even if something instantly dies. When you freeze something, you create chilled ground. This is just a circle that appears under you and slows everything around you. It's really, really strong defensively. And then considered casting is more spell damage with spell hits. Arctic Armor is in fact a spell hit, but it has no cast time, so we don't get the downside of this. It's just 20% more damage for Arctic Armor. And then if you 6-link this, I would put Cold Mastery. Currently I have a level 19 gem. If I had a level 20 gem and it was 6-linked with Cold Mastery for another +1, I would have level 27, which is the break point for another stage. So I would have a maximum of 7 stages, which would also multiply the damage again, basically. So yeah, that is my build, basically. I hope you understood everything. I will try to help people in the comments if they have problems. This build completely blasts. It's not the best bosser, but for mapping and stuff and just doing league mechanics, or just I guess mechanics in the game, like Breach, Delirium, Ritual, you will just clear everything super easily. And it also just scales really well into the end game, and you can start it off really early. So I hope you have fun if you play this build. Oh, I should have mentioned this earlier. If you are re-rolling to this build, I guess only people who actually watch this far will get this. If you're re-rolling for this build, don't kill this boss, because in Act 1, Candlemask gives you +20 max life, and in Act 1 Cruel, he gives you 8% increased max life. I went into this build not knowing I was going to play this. I was originally playing Minions, and then I started playing ED Contagion. And then I switched to this build, because, I don't know. I just kind of fell into it, and it worked out. But yeah, don't kill this on Act 1 or Act 1 Cruel if you're re-rolling into this build. But yeah, I am done. I'm going to put my T3 Xesht kill after this, and I hope you have a great day. This will probably be the last video I do in this build. I am cooking some in-stacker memes. That will probably be my next build. I don't know when that'll happen. I'll probably fire a bunch of currency to support it first on this build, and try to kill the main pinnacle boss on this, the Pinnacle of Flame. I somehow haven't found a single Citadel on my Atlas. Oh, I guess one other thing. I'll say this real quick. My Atlas tree, this is the Endgame Atlas that I have. This is letting me, I'm not gonna explain everything, you can just look at it and go look at all the nodes and stuff. This is letting me sustain T15s so easily, it's disgusting. And the times when I've run out of T15s, I still have 20 or 30 T14s that then give me a ton of T15s. So yeah, this is a really, really good endgame tree in my opinion, for just blasting T15s. So yeah, peace out. I'm done. Have fun with watching my Xesht fight, which is not short.
We that dreamed, we in nightmare, we that are one. Curse of a broken sun. Lies truth. Pandemonium. Nowhere to run. Infinite pursuit. We tire. Infinite pursuit. The fury of the hive. We split the thread of reality's coiling lies. She is Xesht.
It's about time.